Greetings everyone. Here's a quick video on how we can rewrite a quadratic or the equation of a parabola from standard form, which is how it's written here in the first structure, into graphing form or vertex form, which we have down here. We're going to use the technique of averaging the x-intercepts like we've been doing in class. I just want to make sure I go through this, so if you need some little extra assistance, you can watch this video and get it. So, just to illustrate what I was just referring to, pretend this is a parabola. It's fairly close. The vertex, I apologize, somehow the video paused for just a moment. So, our vertex is here at HK, and in standard form, you can't see the vertex directly from the way it is written, so we want to rewrite it into graphing form or vertex form so the vertex is apparent. But if you can pretend this is a parabola, you can see that H is right in the middle between the two intercepts. Now I didn't draw it very symmetrical, but it's supposed to be symmetrical where this distance and this distance are the same. So our goal is to find the x-intercepts first, and then we can find the middle between them by averaging them, or adding them and dividing by 2, and that'll give us H. And then we'll find K by plugging that into the quadratic equation that we were given to solve for K, and then we can write it in vertex form. So let's go through an example. Suppose we have to write this in vertex form, or graphing form. So the first thing we want to do is figure out the roots, or the x-intercepts, or where it equals 0. And to do that, you either want to try to factor it if possible, or use a quadratic formula. If you're worried about your factoring skills, you can always just jump to the quadratic formula and use that, because it'll work every time, but sometimes factoring quadratics could be a little bit faster. So we're going to multiply the 2x squared and the negative 6, and we're going to get negative 12x squared, which we'll put at the top of our diamond problem here. We'll take the negative 4x and put that down here. Now we need to find two numbers that multiply together to give us negative 12x squared, but add together to give us negative 4x. And so through a little bit of experimentation perhaps, you might come across negative 6x and 2x. When I multiply negative 6x and 2x, we get negative 12x squared, and when then I add them together, we end up with negative 4x. Now from here, you can go draw your generic rectangle. We'll put the 2x squared in one of the boxes. Diagonally from that, we'll put the negative 6. And then we'll put our negative 6x and the 2x into the other two. Now the 2x squared has to be factored as 2x and x. There's no other way to factor it. And you can put the 2x either on the left side or on the top. That doesn't really matter. But what matters next is how you use that 2x. So I need to multiply 2x by some other number to get the 2x that's over here on the right side. And so we're going to multiply 2x by 1 to get 2x. So I'm going to put a plus 1 here. And then I'm going to multiply x by negative 6 to get the negative 6x down here, which leaves me this structure. So that means I have 2x minus 6, that quantity, times x plus 1 has to equal 0. So I will use the zero product property, set each factor equal to 0, and then I will solve. So if we add 6 to both sides over here to get 2x is equal to 6, divide by 2, and we get x is equal to 3. Over here we just need to subtract 1 from both sides, and we get our other x coordinate of the x-intercept as x equals negative 1. So now that we have x equals 3 and x equals negative 1, we can use those two values to find h. So we're going to take those two values and we're going to add them together. So one of them is positive, one of them is negative. Keep the signs with them. And then we're going to divide by 2. What we're doing is we're trying to find the midpoint between them on the x-axis, which is the value that h will be. And so we're going to average them, or add them and divide by 2. So 3 plus negative 1 is 2, divided by 2 is equal to 1. And so h is 1. Now to find k, we need to go back and plug the one that we just found right here, back into our original equation, or one of our quadratic equations. You could actually plug it into factored form if you want. This form up here at the top, the 2x minus 6 times x plus 1, that might be easier for some, but I'm going to do it like we did in class. 2x squared minus 4x minus 6. So 2 times x squared, x is 1, minus 4x, 4 times 1, minus 6. And then just got a little bit of arithmetic to do. That becomes 2 minus 4 minus 6, which works out to be negative 8. So now that I know h and k, what I need to go figure out is just a. But a is the same a that we have up in the original equation coming from the coefficient of the x squared term with a number in front of the x squared term. So if I just go back to the equation we're trying to rewrite, the number in front of the x squared term is obviously the 2 that's sitting right here. So that is our a. And so now that we have a, h, and k, just making sure I got everything, we can go ahead and write this in factored form. So a was 2, h was 1, and k is negative 8. So x minus 1 minus 8. I'm going to go back and double check everything. Remember, when we do this, for h we use the opposite. So this is 1 here, so that's why we have a minus 1 over here, because we've got to do the opposite. And then for k, we're going to do the same thing. So this is negative 8, k stays the same, so that's why we have a negative 8 over here. So remember, we did the opposite here, and we do the same here. So this is the skill that you're going to need soon, so watch the video over and over again, and if you need more help, come and see me at lunch. Go study.